Welcome to Season 2 of Common Time Podcast. I'm David Clemmer.
And I'm John Pasquale.
And we're back to inspire and empower music educators with practical advice, thought-provoking conversations, and stories from some of the best in the business. Let's dive into another incredible episode. Our guest today is Meg Duke. Welcome, Meg.
Hi, it's such a pleasure to be here.
We are so happy that you're with us. So Meg is a licensed psychotherapist and clinical social worker. She's the owner of Amplify Wellness and host of her own podcast, the Perinatal Podcast. Today, we're talking about mental health and stress management, such an important topic. John, why don't you get us kicked off?
Indeed. Hi, Meg. How's it going?
I am elated and genuinely honored to be in this space right now. I'm so excited.
It's wonderful to see you. So this topic is, I think, something that all of us in any field of study and any profession can kind of relate to. In the band director world or kind of music conducting world specifically, stress is something that is just a part of everyday life, right? But so are you able to kind of tell us what are some common symptoms of stress and how can we as public school teachers begin to recognize stress and then early signs of burnout?
I've been thinking about this question because I could just do the whole show on just this one question and like how we recognize when we're doing certain things or saying or feeling certain things, what that really means and what that's a sign of. But I think the biggest thing, there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. Another one of our therapist colloquialisms is the issues are in the tissues. And so we talk about how stress shows up physically. A lot of the time, not always, but before we're even able to consciously acknowledge it. So we've got headaches, we've got tension in the shoulders, we've got digestive issues, we've got sleep disturbances. And so if you're recognizing some of that, it might not just be, and of course, if you think about too, some of the symptoms can be overlapping. If you're holding a giant tuba, some of that might be like, oh, maybe I'm sitting in a weird way that my body needs to stress, but is it that in combination with some emotional concerns and so on? And that is something that's kind of like, okay, we got a little something going on, got a little flag. Another thing, of course, emotionally, if you're recognizing you're snapping, a little irritability, a little shortness, right? Talking about overwhelm, where you just feel kind of blown. And what we talk about, the cure for overwhelm is nothingness. And so we just kind of sit frozen because we don't know what the next thing to do is. And even sometimes if you're not finding that love that you once had in the job, some detachment, that can definitely be signs of burnout. Also as well, some chronic fatigue, lots of those different things in combination are things that you might think something's going on here.
Yeah. I've experienced that myself, and I know probably John has as well.
Especially holding a tuba.
I was going to say, I picked
Exactly.
tuba.
He's a tuba player.
That. Because we have strong feelings holding that thing. We've got big feelings.
Well, you can't see it. Our dear listener, our hosts and producers have seen I set my view up with my cello in the background, but it's cut off, which is totally fine. But even that, right? Like, why did I pick the almost biggest instrument? But I could have picked a double bass, so it could have been worse.
Could have been worse.
Tiny little Meg carried around.
It is amazing how stress affects your body. You mentioned that in your answer, and this has been several years ago, but I went to the doctor because I was having neck pain.
Yes.
And I was having a hard time turning my neck, like driving to see my blind spots. And they did all the things. And then the final thing was like, are you under a lot of stress? And I was under an immense amount of stress at the time. Yeah. And I ended up going to physical therapy 3 times a week to help work this out. And it was all stress related. Nothing physical was wrong with me whatsoever. It was just stress. So yeah, those signs, like paying attention to those signs are super important. So I'm curious, one of the things we also deal with is time management, because we think about stress for us, there's a lot of stuff that's being thrown at us as directors and teachers and educators. So I'm curious if you have strategies that could help us in balancing rehearsal prep, performances, personal time, just more effectively.
Yes. So this is my metaphorical, I guess, I shouldn't do this on a musician's podcast, but the metaphorical knuckle crack moment, where it's like ADHD is my specialty. I used to specialize in perinatal, which is all of things related to pregnancy, childhood, parenting, all of that. And then myself, I was diagnosed in 4th grade with ADHD. So I really spent a lot of time training and getting certified in that specifically, because whether or not you have a diagnostic criteria for some sort of variable attention trait concerns, this is such a huge thing for so many people. That kind of goes back again to that overwhelm. If I can, I'm going to go back a little bit on the overwhelm for a second of like, if you're starting to recognize that I'm starting to show up late to things. I'm starting to like not be prepared like I used to be. I'm not, whatever that is, that could be a sign of burnout as well. Like you just can't get that same passion to get things done like you used to. Right. That is another sign. But as well as that, those of us who have any sort of struggle with organization and focus, it's important to avoid that perfectionism. I have to do this at this time every single day, every single exactly the same way. And that's hard because you do have a lot of precision in music, of course, but really focusing on intentional prioritization, thinking about, we talk about the Eisenhower matrix is the importance and the urgency. And there's a quadrant, which we can put in the show notes. I'm happy to send you the link, the basic of that, or of course, anybody can Google the Eisenhower matrix, and thinking about what is important, what has to be done, and what is urgent, what has to be done now, and thinking about those things. And it feels kind of tedious. I say this a lot in therapy, like, it feels kind of tedious. We're going to start writing a bunch of stuff down, but that's how we make those changes. We're actually writing stuff down. We're looking at it with intention instead of just, well, it's got to get done and I'm going to figure it out because that's what I do. And so making sure we're identifying those critical tasks each day, understanding, you know what, this is important, but it's not due right now. So that can take a back burner a little bit, and so on. And with every single piece of that.
I love that you mentioned the Eisenhower quadrants. We, one of our prior guests was the director of the marching band at Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And that's included in the, what is it? The 7 Habits book by Stephen Covey. Mm-hmm. And he had mentioned that, and it just brought me back to that. His whole podcast was about organization, mm-hmm. but linking that to stress, because that is certainly an issue that we're dealing with. And referencing that podcast, if you haven't listened to that podcast, go back and listen to it for our listeners. But if you haven't looked at that Eisenhower quadrant, go do it. Go find it. Look it up, because it's worth your time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I feel remiss if I didn't give out a nice boomer sooner when you mentioned you.
Appreciate
boomer.
That.
I must. I have to.
You have to.
It's in the contract. It's in the friend contract.
Yes. Checks in the mail.
That's right. Thank you. Meg, in high pressure situations, I mean, we oftentimes find ourselves in high pressure situations just because of you're dealing with a lot of students and a lot of chaotic environments. And I can speak very personally to this in my job. There's a lot of chaos that surrounds me pretty much at all times, but that's at any level teaching, any subject level teaching. But I'm curious though, are there mental techniques that like we can use to help us stay calm and focus in an ultra overstimulated high pressure situation?
There are so many, and that's what's so great about a lot of these coping skills or mechanisms. There are so many of them, and so it's helpful to start trying to see which ones work for you. I know of 2 people in my life who actually enjoy sitting in a bubble bath, and that's great for them. So go do that. But that colloquial, like, go get in a bubble bath, most people are like, this is miserable for me. So anything that I mentioned here, if you're like, oh, I've tried box breathing before and I can't do it, it stresses me out, like, then we skip the breathing piece. We just take one big breath and then we try something else. So there are so many different opportunities for that. One of them I was thinking through, and I'm not a sports expert, though I would love if someone could pay for me to do a training on the athlete of it all, but the mental rehearsal, visualizing a successful performance, walking through that and helping you to feel more prepared mentally. Like, what am I feeling in my body while I'm going through all of that? How am I making sure that I'm breathing? I can't think of an example, perhaps you all could, and hopefully not, of like a conductor being up, locking out your knees, passing out because you're so stressed about everything. And so it's just even breathing through those performances, and taking those moments throughout the day. I think it's meditative, not necessarily meditation. I think meditation is a word that is scary for a lot of people. We think of like 45 minutes sitting and staring off into space with a blank slate, and that feels unreachable for many. But do we have 2 minutes where we can go and do a guided relaxation, a guided meditation? Am I going outside without my phone and standing in the sunshine and getting a little bit of vitamin D and serotonin for 2 minutes? Am I doing something? Am I jotting something down in my journal, something that is a touch point throughout our day and not just go, 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 go. I remember this sensory reset, kind of like pressing your feet into the ground. If you can be barefoot, if you're in a public space, maybe don't. Something that helps you bring you back to the present moment. Even something like holding a cold water bottle, just having those touch points in the day, avoiding perfectionism. It doesn't have to be the full shebang of lying down with a pillow with your essential oils and all of that. Just something for you.
Yeah. It sounds nice though, just laying down with the
I would like that.
essential oils.
That is
just chilling out. Middle of the day. I'm going to take 45.
A personal story from my therapist last week, because a lot of times I do therapy back to back to back and it's virtual. And so I might have 7 minutes, I might have 30 seconds between clients. And I was telling her, like, sometimes I just feel like I don't have time for that. And I was like, I can't get my thing out and my oil and my spray. And I have a little meditation headband and I lay down, but I've got a specific neck pillow for my chiropractor and And she was like, you mentioned essential oils. Like, can you get back to the essentials, which is you doing a 2-minute meditation? Like, we don't need all of this stuff. It's great to have an ideal. It's so lovely and restorative when I have the extra amount of time to put into that, but it's so not necessary. And I think that's where a lot of us are like, well, I don't have time for that, so I'm not even going to try. It's like, you do have 30 seconds to splash some water on your face or whatever it is, avoiding again that, like, if I don't do it this way, then it doesn't count. The body keeps score and your body will know that you're doing those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I was just going to tell just a little brief, I guess, this anecdote. We have a colleague from Germany, Christoph Breitag, and Christoph, on the first tour of his school, we were there probably a decade ago, he opened this door to a room that is like, it's their sleep room. They have bunk beds, and during the day, if you have a break and you're tired, you can just go take a nap. And it blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? They have beds here? You can just go to sleep. And it kind of made me think about the environment. So, because that's my next question is, how can we create a healthier work environment for ourselves, for our students, really, in general, we're going to be busy. So is there something we can do to create a better environment for ourselves other than creating a sleep room?
That sounds gorgeous. Like that right there is communicating the importance of mental health and physical well-being to your students without saying a word. We have taken the time and the funds and given up the space to be like, y'all good?
Right.
You're not going there, right? Have you all seen, I'm not sure if this is required watching for people in your profession, but have you all seen Whiplash?
I have not, actually.
John. Okay, we're getting on a Zoom and we're all going to watch it together. It's gorgeous. If nothing else, the music is gorgeous. But David, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, so J.K. Simmons won an Academy Award for the role. I'm always so curious to think about that because he is throwing cymbals at people's heads. He's screaming at people.
Intense.
Miles Teller, it's like intense to the nth degree. Miles Teller is drumming until his hands are bleeding. Actually, sorry, I wanted to ask a question. Like, do you all have people? Is that like the sign of we've practiced enough when your hands start bleeding?
Not.
Is that...
Probably shouldn't. No, that's a bit too far. Yeah.
Right. So that I think, and the whole point of that is that sort of energy pulls out, like when you're so angry, you're fueled by the anger and the fury against this guy, and he's getting the best out of people by doing that. But at what cost? And so that came to mind when I read this question in the pre-briefing of like, I think about that and how can you balance intentionally and it's a thought for each individual person. Like, how do you balance evoking the best, wanting people to want more for themselves, striving more for the next thing without pushing into tyrannical, like J.K. Simmons of it all. And also everyone out there should just, if nothing else, go listen to the soundtrack because it's gorgeous. But that comes back to what I was saying earlier about Christoph's sleep room, like the transparency, and that's like implicit communication, but all of that, it just goes such a long way. The transparency and communication, acknowledging how stressful it is. It's a busy season. We've got all these practices. You all also have 800 hours worth of homework and whatever else that might be. And then we're also up, I don't know, for marching band Saturdays, if it's an early game, is it like what, 6 a.m. they have to meet you there? We're acknowledging that.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Sometimes it's earlier. I've seen 2 or 3 a.m. like call times.
Yes.
For travel and so forth.
I have never been in the marching band. I was one time at Purdue. I was in the pep band because both of our factions of the pep bands were gone to a men's basketball and a women's basketball game. So they asked the orchestra to come and do the volleyball game. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm sitting in the bleachers playing a cello. I love it. But even that was an afternoon thing. But football games are not football games without marching bands. And like, it's so important. And also you couldn't pay me to do that kind of work. And I don't want people in marching band to feel othered, but just like, thank you all for what you do, because it's so much and it's so hard. And in addition, they're students and they're trying to navigate, and none of them, I would imagine, you don't have very many 25-year-olds in your bands, like their prefrontal cortexes aren't even fully developed. So it's so helpful if you all can be the people who can develop that culture of rest, with short breaks in rehearsals, structured downtime, fostering a space where students know it's okay to set boundaries too. Of course, you want to encourage respect both ways. They respect you, you respect them. Leading by example. There was a colloquialism or a meme or something going around during quarantine about general on a military base somewhere going to therapy each week, and he just talked about baseball and whatever else was going on, and finally the therapist was like, so what work are we going to be doing? And he was like, nothing, but I got a base full of people out there who know that I come to therapy every week, and I need them to know that it's good for them to do that too. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I like the story behind it, because first of all, everyone could get a therapist and talk about actual things, but it's so important to make sure that they know that burnout is not a badge of honor. That has been the energy of our like capitalistic go, 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 do, do, do energy. And for you all as the leader to say like, that's not the goal. That's not it. You're not going to be Miles Teller and playing until your hands are bleeding. And I'm not going to be throwing cymbals at you. And I'm not going to be seeing people pass out during practice.
Right. And I think this applies not only to, obviously marching band, but middle school teachers can 100%. Be in the same place in terms of stress. And love the idea of letting your students see that it's okay. It's okay not to make that the standard in terms of this feeling of being overwhelmed and burned out. So I love it.
So this kind of ties together what my next question is, Meg, and we touched on it briefly, but just to kind of dive into it more. So physical health oftentimes ties closely with like mental well-being. So what are some simple habits that you recommend to incorporate into our daily lives to try to reduce stress and other symptoms of fatigue and burnout?
I love this question so much. Hydration station. Number one, I know I have a brother-in-law. Hi, Cam. He hates water, which I don't get. I can't live without water. I also, because I have ADHD and my Vyvanse gives me dry mouth anyway, which is why if those of you who are watching the video, like I'm constantly over here drinking, it is a symptom I am happy to have because the Vyvanse works so well for me. But separate from that, like if we're not hydrating our bodies, we're not taking care of it. And it is something that can be an easier thing to get a water bottle to refill it. Again, for all of my conductors and instructors out there, making sure that there's access to water, whether it again is out on the marching band field, even if it's just an elementary school child, making sure that they know where the bathrooms are and water fountains, because it is so key, especially those of you who play wind instruments. I was like, mouth instruments? Meg, what are you saying? Oh my gosh. You please
string player.
Please leave that in, Theresa. Wind instruments, right? Keeping that hydration. And then movement. I'm always intentional about using the word movement. Exercise, like meditation, can feel overwhelming to some people. Oh, I don't exercise. Oh, that's too, I can't do that. Da, da, da. We're just talking about movement. We're talking about getting up and, doing some stretches, or like I said, going outside and taking a walk around the building. Any sort of movement that helps your body not be in that same position as you're holding your instrument or you're writing your music or your whatever else it might be. Getting up, moving, being intentional, setting a timer. Even like if you're going to be sitting and writing for all day, like every 30 minutes or so, just get up, go get you some water, refill your water, go pee, come back. Again, I think it's helpful too for you all to be the people, like you keeping a water bottle in sight so that you remember to drink your own water, and you're also encouraging everybody else to do that. Stretching, making sure you've got protein-rich snacks, or, even sometimes sugar is good for you too, give you a little boost.
Right.
And then I mentioned earlier too, the deep breathing exercises. If it's not deep breathing, just genuinely, have I thought about taking a moment to breathe? All of those things can be so helpful for regulating the nervous system, reducing that chronic stress. They're all very important.
I love these are kind of like they're colliding in my mind because I work in my office sometimes. Like I'm in that office and I have to get out of it. I have to walk, and I'll walk outside.
Yes.
And sometimes it's blazing hot. I live in Houston. But
Yes.
something about it, like for 1 minute, it feels invigorating. Now, 2 minutes, I'm like sweating and I'm in basically death.
Yes.
But for 1 minute, it's like, okay, now I can go back to work. And it's just mentally freeing in a way. I love that.
Absolutely. And for John, our friend up to the north, the opposite of that can be very helpful too. Those temperature fluctuations are so good. I mentioned earlier, like just holding a cold water bottle. I'm so with you because I used to live in Houston, and there would be times also because one of the places I worked, the air conditioning was just on blast so much that I felt like I needed to go defrost. But you're right. Those temperature fluctuations within a good limit, don't stand out in the snow and get frostbite with your bare feet. But they can be so helpful. And what you're describing is, yes, that's exactly it.
I love it. Okay, so now during the day, that's something I would do. But let's talk about end of the day, because this is something I think we do struggle with as directors, as teachers. There's a lot of things that are going on in our brain. We go home, and I've had this problem struggling with just switching off after a long day.
Yes.
So I'm curious, are there effective ways to decompress and to make sure that we're recharging at the end of the day?
And I want to be so clear again, we're avoiding perfectionism. I have a client who just went out, she works at a school, and she just went on spring break. Our spring break is this coming week. Well, I don't know when you're posting this, but at the time of recording is on. And I was like, what are we doing about, like, can you just fully switch off and shut off? Or on Friday afternoon, do you want to go through and see if any emails came through so that you don't have the Sunday scaries of like, what's awaiting me tomorrow? Right. And I think we don't participate in the nuance of self-care in that way of like, I am off and my stuff is closed and I shan't be opening it again. It's like, well, that also causes its own anxiety in certain ways. And also for those of you who out there who are composers and something comes to you in the middle of the night and what do you do? Because I'm supposed to be logged off. And so it is some of that. Well, I guess the middle of the night's not a good example. Just get up and go write that down. But in other things that do come up, or having those conversations, if it's for you, knowing there was intention behind that of, I know I'm going to check this email at 6 p.m. tonight. I know I'm going to do whatever it is, but how you've had that conversation about incorporating that into whatever that looks like for you. And then kind of a little shutdown ritual, maybe for you, just signaling that to your brain that the workday is over. Is it shutting the laptop? For me, it's shutting my laptop. I have this little thing that's got a USB and my adapter to my external keyboard, and I take that out and I put it away and I turn off my external keyboard. And for me, it's like, okay, another day. Right. And then I leave, and I work from home. So as lucky as I am to have this space where I don't spend a lot of time in here when I'm not working. But for me, it's kind of like shut it. And we're done and we're moving on. And so what else can that look like? Listening to a non-work related podcast on your drive home, some of those short breathing exercises. Sorry, I keep talking about breathing, but they're very important, minor detail. Something before you step into your house where we just kind of move on to the next thing. We're avoiding perfection. If something does come up, if a phone call comes up, if you're able to taking it with intention or pushing it off until after the next time, whatever that might be. And then hobbies. What are you all like? What do you like to do that doesn't have to do with work? And that's hard because there probably was a point in your life, if not still, where music was a hobby for you and picking up an instrument might be. And so that is to say, like, if you pick up a ukulele and that's not your profession, that's not to say like, well, I can't do anything with music at all because that's work related, but there's intention and there's difference there. So not to say that you're not allowed to have some of those hobbies or something totally different. Jessica likes to crochet. John, that'd be a really cool thing for you to pick up too. I'd be happy to get on a Zoom with you sometime. You'll let me.
Yeah, John.
But it can really help redirect the brain away from that workspace. So if the thoughts are still racing, some sort of a brain dump, writing down the lingering tasks, getting into the Eisenhower matrix, making sure that we are externalizing that stress so that we're trying as best as we can with intention to not carry that into the evening.
And it's hard to do, and especially because of you have constant access, right? It's on your wrist, it's on your phone. It's hard.
Yes.
So for all of us listening going, it's hard. Yes, it's hard. And I struggle a lot to turn it off because people can get me 24 hours a day. And in the job that I have, I feel like I need to do that. But at the time, like there's no band emergency.
Well, I mean, honestly, unless, heaven forbid, knock on wood, unless a hall is burning down in which
I can't do anything about it anyway.
Yeah. First of all, thank you. But I would hold some space if you were like, I am going to drive down at 3:00 in the morning and like see what I can do. Also don't, but like we would hold space. But yeah, I think that's very helpful. And even for those of you who, if there is an emergency, if you are not on call, like, and there's something going on, like that's not the thing. I think there's a lot of intention to be had there as well. Turn off your text notifications on your smartwatch. I have mine off, and it is such a game changer. And what privilege, but if you can have this for your workouts and movement, have it for if the phone does ring or not at all, but taking the emails off or set the settings where at 6 p.m. the emails, the texts, and the calls stop coming through. Something like that allows you, like, once again, here's my brain ritual of, and we're done. And that's something that could be automated that you don't even have to think about.
Because I remember, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, thinking that because we are dealing with students and kids and their lives, and like, if I miss something, am I going to let them down? Am I going to harm them in some way unintentionally? So I get it. But for anybody listening, you've got to take care of yourself too. But you also have other priorities. Like I have my family to deal with, my friends, my own mental health, all of those things. But I get it. It's hard, right? It's hard.
It's so hard, and it's cheesy and cliched, but it's so true. You can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're, let's see how many cliches I can throw out in these sentences. So if you're burning the candle from both ends and you're burnt out, then your students see that and you're snapping at them, you're snapping at your partners, your co-directors, whatever your situation may be. You're showing them that this is what health looks like and this is how I need to be doing it. It doesn't matter about health even, but that this is the most important thing. And it is that putting the oxygen mask on first. I was going for 3. I got there. Putting the oxygen mask on yourself first and then helping everybody else out. And again, I don't know. Would a student call you if they got arrested in the middle of the night? Is that something like they might do? And I want to say, like, I'm so lucky to have had such beautiful, beautiful music instructors all of my life.
Shout out to Jake Gephardt.
Jake Gephardt is the best. Spoiler up. And you do have people who consider you, who don't have family in whatever version of that for whatever reason. So I hold space for that as well. And it is important for that. And otherwise, how are you showing that? How are you demonstrating you taking care of you so that they understand wherever they go off to next, whether it's music or not, that their first priority is taking care of them.
Yeah, indeed. This is fascinating. So, this kind of all ties into my next question, and I think many people probably feel this way in some capacity. We have a hard time, or there's a hesitancy to ask or seek help for mental health concerns, and there's a number of reasons for that. However, what would you say to people, one, that feel this way, but then how do you encourage them to take the first step in asking for help?
Yes. I'm so excited for this question. I want to hold space first that not everyone who listens to this, you might be a middle school conductor, and that's great. And even there are office and school politics. People in higher education, there is such a pressure to produce, find new things, achieve, create new. And so there is this expectation for anybody in higher academia, no matter if it's social work or music or whatever, that we're all amazing and we know everything, and that's why we're here. And it's so great to say, I don't know. It's such a freeing thing to say, I don't know, let me ask. Or, you know, who does know? Professor Smith is really great at that. Let me get with that, whatever that might look like. But it's very hard because directors, especially, you're conditioned to be strong leaders. That is what you do. That is literally the name of the game. But it's not, strength doesn't mean pushing through, gritting through, white knuckling it. It's knowing when to seek support and allowing yourself that space. Mental health care, I do acknowledge in this country, is a luxury, but that's not where the best place to be is. Mental health care is not a luxury. It is a tool for sustainability. So your first steps can be talking to someone that you trust at the school, which again, holding space for politics. Not everyone deserves or is able to hold your trust. So finding the people that you know that you can come to with those things who wouldn't use that against you in some sort of manipulative, higher academic, I'm going to get your job now because you have to take a rest kind of energy. Exploring mental health resources at your school. A number of places have counseling services. Certainly if you've got insurance, I encourage everyone to get a therapist. I have a therapist. I love when I get to see her. I really do encourage that. Not even just like, oh, I've started to realize I've got tension and I can't turn my neck. I need a therapy now. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we can get therapy before we get to that point and we start recognizing? So even smaller stuff like prioritizing sleep, setting more of those micro boundaries, that can create a lot of momentum toward better mental health as well.
And then specifically encouraging people to take the first step, you know, because that could be scary.
So scary. This is something I say all the time. If it were easy, you'd already be doing it. So everything that I say here, it might feel like, oh my gosh, duh, yes, okay. And then you have that self-talk like, I should have already been doing it. Don't shit on yourself, right? We're here where we are right now. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. We get rid of that word. It's hard and it's scary, especially if you're not used to asking for help. And it doesn't mean you're not going to, I can almost guarantee you, anyone listening to this show, because they want to hone their skills and get better, is not going to swing the pendulum so far to the other way, to being lazy and not doing anything because you've asked for help. People are not going to assume because you've started to say, oh, you know what? I can have that graduate assistant put that music away at the end of the day. I don't have to do it all, and it doesn't have to be done exactly how I want. That's something else that I can do. Oh my gosh, Dr. Pasquale oh my gosh, he's so lazy. Like, no, that's not, you're not going to allow yourself to get there anyway. It is just unclenching a little bit and allowing yourself to not have to be the person who does it all the time. And I do want to say, if there are some things that are very important to you that they are done specifically, that's not the one that you drop then, right? That's the glass ball that we got, that one you keep in your hand, even if it feels silly. It's like, for Thanksgiving, I have to make great Aunt Theresa's apple pie, and I'm the only one who knows how to do it. Well, you make that apple pie, but then you let other people do other stuff. And it doesn't have to just be, you figure out what that looks like for you.
Yeah. This is so much great information, Meg. I'm
really
so thankful you're on with us today.
It's my pleasure.
I'm curious, kind of in a big picture.
Yes.
You know, how can music education as a whole, and just kind of in your thought and dreaming, better support mental health of directors and educators and students as well?
I feel like this is a micro, meso, macro answer to this of absolutely, from mental health of directors, educators, musicians, everyone, and also just the world too. Just same right. For everybody. There needs to be a cultural shift where prioritizing well-being is seen as necessary and not indulgent or lazy. Music programs can include mental health education for educators, for students. It would be so great if electrical engineers and I was going to go with construction engineers, if all engineering programs, if business schools, if everyone could have some sort of conversation about taking care of yourself and boundaries and what that looks like and feels like, and normalizing discussions about burnout, implementing policies that prevent directors from becoming overextended. I mean, my goodness, I will think about Christoph in his sleep room for the rest of my life. And like, how do we build our own version of a sleep room? It is up to us to be the first person sometimes. And in your situation, when I talk to people in therapy, I'll say like, well, it's not your job to educate your your loved ones. If you feel it within you, it can be great if you can set that example and show them, but it's also not your job. Like for you all, it also is part of the job, though wasn't ever a part of like the job description. But I encourage, I set the invitation that you make it part of your job description now, that you set that, accessing your own professional development in self-care and stress management, having that be something that you expect out of the people who work for you, that you do that with your students. I could even literally, I'm picturing right now you at the top of that thing that you climb up in front of the practice marching band being like, and everyone takes a big breath and everyone blows it. Whoo! Like really those little pockets of things that you can do. And also you're breathing while you're doing it. So you're doing it, they're doing it, they're doing it, we're doing it together. And then the other thing I was going to say, some sort of like mentorship. Do you participate in a peer support group? If you're at kind of the top of the hierarchy of the band's orchestra's music program, where can you seek mentorship outside of that? And for everyone who is not up at that level, finding mentorship as well, or finding even interdisciplinary, like who is the director of all of engineering? What if you went and got a coffee with them once a month and talked about like, hey, how you navigating being over top of all of these people, and what does that look like? And making sure that we're putting in situations, whether it's an institutional policy or it's our internal policy, that we're protecting time and energy.
Right. Fascinating. So, Meg, we ask a couple questions of all of our guests. But before we do that, we have a new question that we will start to ask all of our guests coming forward. And so you'll be the first.
Oh my gosh. What a treat.
Do you have a soapbox topic about any of this that you want to share with us?
Okay, I love this. First of all, I literally, John, like, I don't want to say once a day, but I'll be like, don't get me on my soapbox. I say that a lot because I have a lot of things, and especially with mental health. The thing that is just hanging out in my brain, which I just said, so it's kind of a repeat, and then I'm going to leave here in about an hour and be like, oh, this was my soapbox, but here we are, is that mental health is not a luxury. It is your duty to yourself. It's not selfish, or we need a new word for selfish. Selfish, like we're on an 8-hour car ride and I'm only going to let you listen to the Backstreet Boys. I don't care if you like them because that's what I'm listening to. That's the kind of selfish we don't love, though. No notes on the Backstreet Boys. My 8th grade self loves you. And then there's selfish of like, yeah, I'm not feeling well and I'm going to go home today. Or I am going to shut this and not answer that email, even though I've set up an expectation with my colleagues that I will respond to them at 9:30 p.m. But I'm not going to do that. Like what that might look like to you. And mental health is not a luxury, though certainly access to it is. Don't get me on that soapbox. But how do we be intentional about that? How do we show that for ourselves, allow ourselves to take up that space for ourselves? I'm allowed to take care of me. That I think is the thing that comes to my mind. But like I said, I'm going to have like 3 more probably in about an hour and be like, John, I wanted to say this too.
Yeah. It's thinking about this for teachers. We have personal days. Like it's built into our contracts and hardly.
Funny, I never knew that. I never knew it.
Of course you didn't.
Built in. But there's a mindset in the profession oftentimes that we have to show up. We have to be there.
That's it.
And so we just don't use them. You finish your career with all these unused personal days.
Yes.
And
take them with you.
You're just so right. Take a personal day.
Thank you. Actually, that is a great soapbox. Use your PTO or whatever you all call it. Use your PTO. Right. Even if it's literally a Tuesday where you go get your teeth cleaned and then you go and have lunch by yourself or go see a movie by yourself, or it does not have to be, again, it does not have to be this most perfect. I went to this place and I sat and did yoga and then I did meditation and blah, blah, blah. Like,
had a sound bath, right? Exactly.
Sound bath. Oh, John, good choice. Right? Like that is, sorry, I'm taking a second one. That's my second soapbox. Use your PTO. Google, see what all of your benefits are. Do you have pet insurance? Like, do you like a dietitian? Unfortunately, John, I know for a fact that yours doesn't use like Nourish. I think it's usenourish.com. And I use that for a dietitian, and it's amazing, and it's free through my insurance. And like, what other things do you have access to that you're not using? The more I'm sure you can overdo this, certainly, but the more professionals that you can have in your life trying to help guide and support and encourage you, the better a lot of the time. So go and look and see what benefits you have. See how many PTO days you have and use them, please.
Absolutely. I really appreciate this conversation, Meg. There's just so much good information that sometimes I think we think about it, but putting it into action in making these, we use the term normalize earlier, but like normalizing how we respond and react to stuff like this. Oftentimes we don't. So anyway, I really do appreciate the discussion. We do have 2 last questions that we asked, a little less formal. But the first one is there a particular book or books that have just inspired you, along your journey?
Yes, I'm going to grab it because it's right here. I have, my bookshelf is actually on the other side of me, but I keep this one out separate. It's called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck, Dweck. It's literally called Mindset, so you can Google that. And it talks about the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And I think this is a really applicable one in music, because it's something like you were told you were bad at math as a child. You were told you were a bad singer. And so you took that mantle on in a fixed mindset kind of way. And I'm a bad singer and I'm bad at math, and that's it. And a growth mindset says, well, I wasn't born with Ariana Grande's pipes, but I can always get me some lessons, which privilege, money, sure. But I can work harder. I can YouTube. I can ask for help. I can ask somebody, my instructor, what else can I be doing to get better playing this tuba? Right? I love this book so much. I read 100 pages of it on an airplane ride. I was just like, yes. And it's dripping in my highlighter. So that is a book that I literally keep out. So when I'm catching myself using self-limiting talk, and I'm like, yeah, you do suck at marketing, but you can get better. You're going to find that out. You'll be okay. Yeah, that's the one.
Fantastic.
Great. And then finally, Meg, with your experience as an accomplished cellist and member of the orchestra, what is your favorite time signature?
Okay, can we just I'm laughing so hard. Okay. I got my instruments out, made sure they were all tuned, although God bless my cello, her name's Jillian, and the A is just not quite holding the A as much.
I hate to see it.
I know, it's so sad. And my spouse was like, oh my gosh, great. Are you going to play? And I was like, are you kidding me right now? Absolutely not. They have PhDs. And also Purdue is not a music school. Now, you know what I'm not going to do? Theresa, please leave this in. I'm not, because I'm not going to make fun of myself. I had a beautiful time. We were not a music school, so there's no way I would have ever gotten into your program. But yes. I love a waltz.
Okay.
I love
so
a waltz.
You like it like in 3.
That's so interesting, though, that you answered in, there's a time signature associated with that, but you answered, I like a waltz. That's the first person. All of our musician friends have given us a very specific 6/8, 5/8, whatever. But you like the feel of a waltz.
I love the feel of a waltz.
Which isn't just 3/4. It's
that's true. It could be 6. It could be a lot of things. That's true. You're right.
Yeah. So very that's in my mind. I was thinking of the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like, I love the vibe.
I just like that it was from a different perspective. All of
that is very interesting.
All our musician brains are like very 3/4, 4/4, 5/4.
I like 7/8 because of the complex.
Yeah.
So obviously the right answer though was common time. That's just so we're all clear here.
That went right. Oh, see, I told you I've been listening to get the energy and the vibes, but I have not heard the end of an episode because I was popping around and listening to the different energies and the different topics. And I hadn't That's okay. You got me. I'm happy to have got on common time.
I gotcha. Say, Meg, it has been such a wonderful conversation. Yeah. The discussion's fantastic. Great. Thank you for being with us today and sharing your expertise. These kind of conversations matter, and I'm so glad we're having them, making space for them. it's important. So thanks again. We really appreciate it.
It is my genuine pleasure and honor and delight.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Common Time Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media, and we'd love it if you shared with your friends as well. We'll see you next time, but until then, keep making music and keep making a difference.